Hey, what's up, everybody? Trey Griggs here with Beta Consulting Group, and it is Finish Strong Friday, everyone. No matter what you're doing out there, make sure that you give it your all today. Finish really strong. That steak dinner tonight is going to taste a lot better if you give it everything you got today. So make sure you finish strong. And while you're doing that, take a moment to go check us out at betaconsultinggroup.com. See how we're helping our clients with their messaging, their marketing, their branding, their content creation, social media messaging, all those types of things. So fill out a form, let us know what you're looking for. We'll get back in touch with you and give us a little feedback on the website. We're always looking for a little feedback on how we're doing and what you think of the experience on the website. So check us out at betaconsultinggroup.com. And a quick shout out to my sponsor, TAFS. These are the good guys in freight factoring. They're helping carriers understand what they need from a financial perspective and providing discounts on tires and fuel and helping with cash flow and all those things to really make sure that they thrive in any market, whether it's good or bad. And if you're a freight broker, you can become a referral partner. Make sure that your carriers have all the resources they need to do really well in any market. Make sure they can continue to move your freight. So check them out at tafs.com or click on the link that's going to be in the comments of the show today. That is my landing page. So you can let them know that I sent you there. Check out what they've got going and get started with them today. So thanks to my partners over at TAFS. Well, hey, listen, it's been a great week of shows this week. I'm very excited about my guest today. I'm going to bring on just a minute, Sarah Barnes Humphrey. And next week, we got a solid lineup as well. Man, it's going to be an exciting week of shows next week. My good friend, Dr. Mark Manera, the founder of the Trucking Fitness Company, is going to be on the show. We're going to talk about fitness, especially for drivers and what he's doing, especially on TikTok to make a huge dent in that industry in terms of helping them with their fitness. On Tuesday, my good friend Coleman Ruffin is going to be on the show. This guy's just one of the smartest guys I know, so well-spoken, but so unassuming. He's going to be a blast. You're going to learn a ton from him. My good friend Scott Harris, president of Via Code, is going to be on Wednesday. He's a sales consultant at heart as well. We're going to talk a lot about consulting and sales and leading an organization. On Thursday, he's one of the original sales reps at Truck Stop. He's been there over 15 years. We're going to have a great conversation about his career in enterprise sales. And then Friday, coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana, we're going to be there for the Indy 500. My good friend Matthew Masadi, who is vice president of sales at a company that's in the oil industry. And we're going to be talking about his relationship with the Andretti Auto Racing, as well as just his career in sales. So it's going to be a phenomenal week of shows. Make sure you come back every day, 10:30 a.m. Central, right here on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, or Twitter, for great content with some incredible guests. As you can see, coming to you today from Hawaii, from the big island of Kona for the last day. And so beautiful views in the background, golf course right behind me. It's wonderful to be out here, but it's also really great to have a chance to talk to all my guests this week. And today's guest is no exception. Man, I've known this woman for probably, 3 or 4 years, something like that. I can't remember exactly when we met, but ever since I met, learned so much about her. She's an incredible entrepreneur. She's a great podcaster, great speaker, and has become just a dear friend of mine. So everybody, please welcome to the show my good friend, Sarah Barnes Humphrey.
Good
Sarah, what's up? How are
morning.
you?
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Trying to bring the energy for you. I mean, it's like 5:30 in the morning where you are.
Well, it is 5:30, but I've done a pretty good job of staying on schedule most of the week. So I've been going to bed at like 8 o'clock at night. I mean, there's not much to do on the Big Island here after 8. We talked about that before we came on the show. So it's been pretty kind of chill. So I go to bed at 8. I wake up at like 4:30. And so it's weird. It's like for 1 week, I'm a morning person, and I'm not a morning person, but I am this week. And so
I'm not a morning person either.
No, not normally. Although I told my wife, I said, it's kind of fun getting up and seeing the sunrise every day. Like it's been kind of enjoyable. So I don't know. We'll see if my habits change when we get home, or if I go back to kind of my usual self. So
well, you're definitely making me jealous. I mean, look at the view behind you. I mean, that's just amazing.
I mean, I could give a little bit.
And the birds.
The golf course, it's beautiful,
chirping.
And the birds. Yeah, it's been a delight to be here. And as they say the show must go on. So of course I'm podcasting on vacation, but this is like one of the joys of my life and every day. So it's been nice to start my day this way. And then eventually my family gets up, we have breakfast, and we have our fun. And so it's been a good trip and a good vacation. That's for sure. Well, listen, everybody knows who you are pretty much, but in case people who are watching don't know who you are, give a quick 30 seconds about who is Sarah Barnes Humphrey. What are you working on?
30 seconds. So Sarah
60
Barnes
or 60,
Humphrey.
take as much as you want. I don't know.
Founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, podcast. We also have a lot of live stream shows happening on Let's Talk Supply Chain now. We franchised last year, so we've got Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia Pac. We're also very big in diversity and inclusion. So we've got our Woman in Supply Chain series. We also have our blended podcast, which is where I bring 5 different people from different walks of life together to talk about diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And now we've turned it into a nonprofit, and we are giving away grants to diverse voices to say yes to speaking engagements, because our grants are going to cover those travel expenses. So there you go. A little bit. I mean, I've been in logistics and supply chain for over 20 years. I guess I should probably mention that as well. And yeah, that's a little bit about who I am and what we're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I love the initiatives that you have going on, that you're using the podcasting and the Let's Talk Supply Chain platform to not only create really great content, but to make a huge difference. And as Scott Watanabe, who is known as the Freight Sensei, in case you don't know him, says, let's talk.
Oh,
So you guys have to connect afterwards. I'll be happy to
let's do
connect
it.
you guys. He's a great guy. He's with Armstrong Transport. He's in Idaho, Boise, Idaho, beautiful Boise, Idaho. No, I think it's really cool that, your business model is you're helping people create content, but then you're taking that exact same platform and you're making an impact for people, voices in particular, that maybe wouldn't be heard otherwise. And so talk a little bit about kind of where that desire came from to, not only have a business that is helping people out and obviously, generating revenue for yourself, but then also to use that to then support these voices or people that maybe wouldn't normally have an opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that was kind of the vision from the very beginning, to be honest. I mean, the only reason why I used myself as the asset was because I was the only person that would work for free, right?
That's right.
I can't, sorry.
No, that's right. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I came from 2 entrepreneurial parents. My dad owned a freight forwarding company, and I did operations for 8 years, sales for 8 years, and then I was director of sales and marketing. And I was like, well, we need to be able to tell our brand story. And I'm listening to a lot of podcasts, so why the hell can't Sarah Barnes Humphrey have a podcast? I mean, why not? And that's kind of how it got started. And but the vision was always to create a platform so that we could elevate different voices within the industry. And so we are in our 4th year now, and we're able to do that because we've created the community. We've created the business. There's a lot of different avenues for ways of working with businesses within the supply chain to really help elevate their story, as well as other voices in the industry that want to talk about their part of the industry. I mean, at the end of the day, supply chain covers so many
It's
different
huge.
aspects,
Yeah.
right? And we need to learn from everybody. There's a lot of people with some really great knowledge out there, and we want to make sure that it gets to the community.
No, I love that. And so for everybody, real quick, before we go any further, on LinkedIn, after the show, go search for Let's Talk Supply Chain. Make sure you follow her channel as well as Sarah's personal profile as well. You're going to find some really great content when it comes to that. So you're from a family of entrepreneurs. Most people don't grow up in a house of entrepreneurs. The majority of people grow up in a house of employees, and they learn how to become an employee.
Right.
You learned how to become an entrepreneur. What was it like? I mean, you've always had this attitude of like you just said, why not me? Why can't I do that? What were some of the lessons you learned growing up in an entrepreneur's house about taking risks or taking chances and just trying new things and starting new things? Because clearly that's in your blood, that's in your DNA.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit. I mean, I remember talking about supply chain at the dinner table since before I can remember. So we've always talked about logistics and supply chain, which is crazy. And I don't know, even when I went to work for the family business, I've always had side hustles. I've always had this desire to really try to figure out what it is that I want to do. But in order to do that, you got to try different things.
What was your first side hustle? Real quick, what was your first side hustle? Do you remember?
It was a business manager for a cosmetics company.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I was able to get them a contract with the Argos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there was
I'm
a
not
lot
surprised to
of,
hear that, but yeah. Cool.
yeah, there was a lot of different things that I was able to do outside of supply chain with those sort of side hustles. And to be honest with you, I mean, the risk taking, the confidence hasn't always been there, right? I've always been terrified of public speaking. And so I don't know if you know
Really?
this story,
Oh.
But I would never, my mom was always like, you need to sign up for Toastmasters. And I was like, and I would go to the website or like go to pick up the phone to call them and then stop because I was terrified. I would never push that button. So instead, I got a talent agent and I went on auditions and I got yelled out of audition rooms. I got laughed out of audition rooms because I'm not very good with memorization. So if they gave me lines, I screwed it up every time, like every single time. But I didn't want to be an actress, right? So I knew why I was there and what I was doing. And it was really just to get practice and practice being in front of the camera and just talking and things like that. It ended up giving me a lot of opportunities. I was on a dog food commercial. I was on live TV with Denise Richards twice. I was in a photography campaign. I was in the Walmart brochure, the management
Oh,
brochure. This
nice.
is really, really fun. But it allowed me to create different scenarios, different opportunities that I kind of had to throw myself into and sort of figure out, right? To embrace the anxiety and just sort of go for it. So, probably a very long winded answer to that question, but I wanted to give you that story because, it's not your traditional route to really getting over a fear and I'm still not over it. I still have to work on it every single time, but it was something that just opened up so many different doors and things for me.
Now, I'm glad you shared that story because I think people might see, you doing your thing now and go, wow, she's just got so much confidence. She just like so sure of herself, which is kind of what it looks like on the outside. But I'm glad you share that story because I share a common story of struggling with confidence for the
Mhm.
majority of my life and having to kind of figure that out and work through that. And I think it's so important to kind of understand who you are, and to be able to
Yeah.
work through that and to tell your story because there's probably other people out there who are maybe, where you were 10 years ago. We're like, I want to do
Yep.
this, but I'm just not sure that I can do it. And what you said is so critical. You just have to try. You have to just try
Mhm.
things out. I think that's something that our culture, especially in the United States, I don't know necessarily in Canada, but in the United States, like failure is frowned upon here. Like don't fail, don't try, don't do anything risky. Just be stable, be steady. Those
Yeah.
types of things. And the best entrepreneurs are the ones who realize, no, 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 you have to try and figure out, what you don't want to do, figure out what you do want to do, where you're skilled at. You have to
Mhm.
try. And so I think that's a great message and a great story to tell. And this is why you do what you do. Everybody has a story to tell, and
Yep.
every business has a story to tell,
They
and you want to
do.
get it out there. It's never been easier to do that now with podcasting and that type of thing. Why did you choose the route of podcasting to really help, with your message, but also with your customers now?
Well, I mean, back in 2016 when I started the podcast, I mean, the word supply chain media, I don't even think really even existed.
No, no, probably
Um,
wasn't much. There's like Journal of Commerce, maybe. That's probably about it
yeah,
that's doing anything
like
on there.
I honestly, I just needed a place to be able to tell our brand story, and I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I was like, well, this is a unique way of doing that. And I think it was fairly easy. Like I bought a podcasting kit from Amazon and our first episode was horrible. Like the video didn't work. Like it was just really, really, really bad.
what
I think
what
you
came
can
in the
still find it
podcasting
on
kit in 2016? What was in the podcasting kit?
it came with I actually still use some of it to this day. Like the
Nice.
mixer board that I got, I'm pretty sure this is the mixer board that came with
Oh,
that
nice.
podcasting kit, but don't tell anybody. Um, no, but it was like our first episode was horrible. I think you can still find it on YouTube. And I think that's one of the things is like really getting out of your own way, right? Progress over perfection. Just put it out there. I mean, when my dad closed his doors and I went out on my own, I didn't have a team, I didn't have a co host anymore. But I had companies paying to come on the show. And so I had to keep it going. So learning social media design, graphic design, website design. And let me tell you, I am not good at graphics. Like if you went back and looked at my graphics, you could tell I tried, but I was not good. But I put it out there anyways, right? My first episode out the gate, the audio was horrible. But to be honest with you, some of the episodes with the worst audio are some of my most listened to.
That's interesting. And the truth is, like, you have to put it out there. Because I once heard somebody say this, and it always clicked in my brain, thinking entrepreneurially. They said 90%, but in the market, is better than 100% not in the market. Like if you're just waiting for it to be perfect, it's never going to happen.
Yeah,
So just
don't
put
do
it
that.
out there and you start learning pretty quickly when you put it
Oh
out
yeah.
there. Like you listen
Mhm.
to it and you go, oh, wow, I need to change this and do that differently. And it gets better and better as you go. I think that's the part of it is just that gradual improvement. You're not going to get that if you don't try, if you don't put it out there. And
Yeah,
that's a
we don't
huge part of
talk
the journey.
about it enough, right? Like, I mean,
Mm-mm.
you see people at a certain point, or maybe you get to know them at a certain point, but you haven't seen the journey that they've gone through and what's sort of transitioned from the beginning to where they are now. And I think it's a super important part of the story.
Yeah, no, it's an incredibly important part of the story. And it's like the overnight success. People go, oh, that guy's an overnight success. Well, they
Yeah.
didn't see the 5, 6 years of behind the scenes type of work to get where they are. Nobody's really, I mean, very rarely do you find somebody who's truly an overnight success, but it's those
Mhm.
repetitions. It's the practice. It's, refining things, getting
Consistency.
them a little bit better. That's right. I mean, we're on episode 59 now of
Yeah.
standing out and we're still like, we could tweak this. We can make this a little bit better.
Right.
So we'll be continuing to learn as we go along. And that's part of the process. One of the great things about you, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was like, that is part of the process, right? It's a journey. It's not a destination. If it was a
Totally.
destination, you're gonna retire early. Then what are you gonna do?
That's right. That's right. You got to enjoy the journey. Got to appreciate the journey. So one thing that's really cool about podcasting, I know you talk about this a lot, is the fact that you can create really or really solid evergreen content that's going to last for a long time. What are some of the content, recommendations that you have for people, especially those that come on your show, in terms of creating really good content that's going to last?
Yeah. So for us, when we first got started, it was like, how do we create a piece of content that is going to live on forever? And so now that people know about our podcast and know that companies come on to talk about who they are and what they do, supply chain professionals look to our podcast to find out what solutions are out there for their supply chain challenges. And we did that from the very beginning because we wanted it to be evergreen content. If you're talking about the business, then it's going to last forever, right? Because I mean, until you do a rebrand or key
Right.
messaging change or something like that, but it's content that you can use over and over and over again. You also don't want it to just be used in marketing. You want to be able to use it in sales to be able to drive lead generation. I mean, why are we doing content? Why are we paying for content? You want to make sure that A, yes, you're getting that brand awareness, but B, you're getting that piece of content that really is going to make a difference to a variety of different stakeholders within your company. And so we've done that since the very beginning, and we feel like that's really the important key to good marketing campaigns.
Yeah, what I love about what you do is because I've done some podcasting with you before and we've done some collaboration, but I love the fact that you want to use the content to make sales easier because that is the point of marketing. It's to make sales easier. I've worked
Mhm.
for companies where they had a really great brand. The prospects knew who they were educated before they came to you. Those sales calls, I got to say, significantly easier than the ones where you're trying to convince somebody, oh, who are you? Well, let me tell you who I am. Let me tell you why you need us. Like
Yep.
those sales calls are very difficult. And so the purpose of content should be to make your sales much more efficient, much more enjoyable,
Yep.
much easier in that regard. And this is where I think a lot of companies struggle because sales and marketing for too long, especially like in transportation, has either non-existed, the marketing side, or it's been siloed, like two different departments really not working
Yeah.
together. And man, I'm a big believer that they really are one department. I mean, your best content should come from your sales team. What
Hmm.
are the prospects objecting to, or what are they saying yes to?
Yeah.
Because those are the things you want to tell the story about,
Yep.
moving forward. So getting something where you can create a piece of marketing content like you're doing to help your sales team, and that is so valuable. And I love the fact that you do that. What are some other things besides the sales evergreen content that you also like to put out there? Is it just the sales content, or what else do you like to put out there?
Well, we put out a variety of different content. I mean, the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast is really just the starting. That's how we started, right? That's what we're known for. We're also known for our Woman in Supply Chain series, right? And that's where we feature two women a month, one on the podcast, one on the blog, to talk about their journeys. And the reason why I started that was because I wanted to know about their journeys. What did that look like? What did they go through? What's the
Yeah.
advice that they can give to the next generation? And then, in 2020, it was actually funny. February 2020, I announced on Thoughts and Coffee that I was going to expand my diversity and inclusion conversations, but I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea. And by March, people were messaging me, when is this going to come out? When is this going to come out? And I still didn't have any idea what it was. And it wasn't until July 2020, because I let it ruminate, right? I kind of speak things into existence,
As
which
you
is a
should.
good and a bad thing.
I think it's a good
Um,
thing.
yeah. And so July 2020, I came up with this concept for blended. And it's kind of like Red Table Talks on Facebook, but for podcasts. And it's where I bring 5 different people from different walks of life together to talk about diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And they're magical conversations. They're people from all different walks of life, all different parts of an organization. Um, and we talk about some really, really tough topics, but it's about really understanding perspectives. And so that's our second podcast, and that's kind of what we do. And then we've got a bunch of live shows. So I've got my weekly live show. We've got other people and organizations hosting their own live shows. So we've really just got a plethora of content that's coming out on a variety of different topics. And then now we've got the nonprofit with Blended Pledge as well. So
That's so cool. Talk a little bit about what that is, because we talked about that a little bit offline. But tell
yeah.
everybody a little bit about what the nonprofit is and what you're doing in that space.
Yeah, so one of the biggest barriers to seeing diverse voices on industry stages is the cost, the travel cost to get there, right? And event organizers don't necessarily have the budget to be able to pay for everybody. Organizations may or may not be supporting them in those endeavors. And so they usually have to come out of pocket. And sometimes they're going to have to, most of the time, they're going to have to say no, right?
Right.
And so we've created a grant that will cover travel expenses so that diverse voices can say yes to speaking engagements, which we're super excited about. Applications just opened. We've got a GoFundMe for individuals who can donate to help us make an impact. And then we're also doing exclusive grants for companies and organizations to get behind and have their own grant with us to support diverse voices. And so we're working with event organizers to let them know that we have this application available so that they can then increase the number of people that they're going out to for some of the speaking engagements that they have.
And where can people learn more about this and get involved?
So we've got a blended page on LinkedIn, which I think we'll send you, and you can have that in the show notes. And then if you go to GoFundMe and you search diversity on stages, blended will come up, and there's a bunch of information on there. And then you've got the blended podcast, and all of that information is at letstalksupplychain.com under the page for blended. So you can learn more about Blended Pledge as well as the blended podcast.
I think that's so great. Like you said, there's voices that are out there. There's people with so much potential, either
Yes.
don't know how to get started or just don't have the resources to get started, and just need that little extra step, little help to get their name out there, get experience, and then hopefully can take it from there. But I love the fact that you're a part of that initiative to get things started. And let's talk for a moment about women in supply chain, the podcast that you're doing with that, or the series that you're doing with that, where you're highlighting some women. I think I read a statistic recently, and I don't know where it's from, so don't necessarily quote me on this, but I think I read there's 6% of supply chain is women, which is a significantly small number. I will say this though, we were at a luau just a couple nights ago, and I met 2 college students. One she's a soccer player at a university in Texas, and they're going into supply chain. They're getting their MBA, and they're going into supply chain. I was like, yes, that's awesome. Like, gave them my contact, her and her boyfriend, fiance, whatever he was. They're both kind of interested. I said, hey, let's connect. Let me help you out as much as possible. But there's just not still a lot of women in supply chain. Talk a little bit about why that was important to you and what you're doing with that.
Yeah, it was just really important to, highlight their journeys, so that we can learn more about it. I mean, knowledge is power, right? And so the more we learn about what that journey has looked like, what they've been through, what that advice can be from a variety of different levels, I think the more we can do better, right? I think right now, even being able to tell people about why they should get into supply chain is becoming really, really big. I mean, I've got a university student that has taken supply chain with a major or minor in marketing, and she's running my TikTok. channel, and so that we can really let the next generation know what the opportunities look like. I mean,
Hmm.
I've been able to travel all around the world, and a lot of the women in my series have been able to move to different places globally and live there for a couple of years and then go on to somewhere else or come home. And so it really does give a lot of opportunities, but we don't really talk about it enough at the high school, maybe, or the university or college level. Even universities, I was on a phone call with a university the other day, and they were like, how do we tell everybody what the opportunities are in supply chain? And I said, well, listen, you've got some majors in accounting and legal. You need to cross promote supply chain with those majors, because I had an old neighbor reach out to me on Instagram, and she was like, guess what? I'm working for a logistics company. She's in accounting. She's like, I know nothing about logistics. Please help me. And so I referred her to our website, and she came back and she's like, thank you so much. I learned everything that I needed to know. Not everything, but like most of the things to get started. And so it's interesting how many industries that we actually touch that we need to really integrate when we're doing our newsletters, especially at the college and university level.
Yeah, we got to tell that story because it really is an industry that is such a great industry, great people.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. I mean, things are continuing to move on trucks or on ocean cargo and things like that. So
Yep.
I think it's important to tell those stories, and especially going back to the women's supply chain in particular. There are so many that I've had a chance to get to know who are just phenomenal leaders in the industry. I'm thinking of like Christy Knichel and
Yes.
Lindsay Graves and just
Hmm.
so many others. Jennifer Carpenter Romaine who just took over the TMSA. And Blythe Brumley, yourself, so many others that have a great voice and have a great presence that we need to keep telling those stories. So I love the fact that you're doing that. And I was just thinking, like literally just a couple of days ago, we should be promoting supply chain like other industries promote, joining them, like financial
Yeah.
services or becoming a doctor or an accountant or things like that. Supply chain is such a great industry. And we can do a better job of telling that story about why
We
they should consider
totally
that.
can.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. No, it's great. I love what you're doing with all of those
Thank
different
you.
initiatives, moving in that direction, which is awesome. So listen, we're at 27 minutes. This is crazy. It goes by so fast. It always does. Absolutely flies by. Talk briefly for a minute about what are some of the initiatives that you're working on? Anything new that you're focused on, or any ideas you want to speak into existence here on the show today?
Yeah, we're working on a few community initiatives, so stay tuned for those, because those are going to be a lot of fun. And we're looking to expand the franchises. So we've got Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia Pac, and we're looking to expand that obviously into other regions: Europe, Africa, South America. Lots of really great opportunities behind that for brands to get involved with. Um, and yeah, so those are a couple of things that we're working on. We're always working on different things. We also want to increase the live shows that we have going out, because like I said, there's so many things that we need to talk about. And I love giving that spotlight to elevate, those voices in the industry that can really provide us with that value.
I think it's great that you're going global because if nothing, the last 2 years have shown us is that the supply chain truly is global and that it's connected. And so it's great to start seeing the platform going to different places. Good luck with that. I hope it goes really well.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you'll do just fine with all of that, which is awesome. In fact, you've already got, you're on multiple continents now, which is kind of fun to say, I'm sure. You could throw that out there, but it's awesome. But no, this is great. I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking about what you're doing. I hope you'll come back and see us soon. What is the best way for somebody to reach out and connect with you if they want to know more about what you're doing or participate in your podcast? How they connect with you the best?
Yeah, I think the website is probably the best place. So let's talk supplychain.com. Following us on LinkedIn. So let's talk supply chain on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on TikTok. I mean, we're all across the socials. And then I am the most active, I think, on LinkedIn. So Sarah Barnes Humphrey. And then I'm Be Victorious. So BE, and then it's Victory Us. On Instagram as well. I'm getting a little bit more active there. So
I love that handle, by the way. Be Victorious. I'm sure. I mean, where did that come from, real quick?
that's
30
my
seconds.
company name. So I called it
Okay.
Victorious, victorious, but Victory Us, which means winning together, because we all know that I like collaboration, and collaboration is the future of business.
That's awesome. Great story. Well, Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. Everybody who's watching, thank you for watching. Make sure you come back on Monday to check out some good information from my friend, Dr. Mark Manera. He's with the trucking fitness company. You're going to learn a lot about what he's doing for drivers and how he's using TikTok to get his message out to drivers, which is going to be really fascinating. And everybody else have a fabulous week. Come back in an hour for the Word on the Street, which is a really fun conversation. My good friend Eric Weedle from Doc 411 is going to be our special guest today. That's right here on LinkedIn Live as well. And we will talk to you guys next week. Have a fabulous weekend, everybody. We'll see you.
Thanks for having me.